What's up, you guys? I'm back with another video, and today I want to talk to you guys about why I stopped smoking. So when I first started smoking, I was around 16, 17 years old, and I was in high school. So this is when I first started, and once I got into it pretty heavy. I went from smoking just a couple days a week to doing it every day. I would do it so much, it got to the point that I couldn't do regular things without it. Things like sleeping, eating, going to work, or just going out and enjoying my day. I couldn't do these things without smoking. At this time, one big thing that smoking did to me is that it made me very lazy. Something that I would always hear from other people is that when they say that they smoke, it would help them get in the zone, or it would just help them focus. But for me, this was not the case. If I was gonna get high, I was gonna get high. Smoking is never something that I would do in moderation, and I was very lazy because of it. I wouldn't get work done, and it would take me so much longer to do certain things because I was so high. When I used to smoke regularly, it had a huge toll on my mindset. I used to forget things a lot. When I would talk to somebody, I would just forget my train of thought, or I would just forget what I'm thinking about. And it would be really hard to remember things. So when this would happen, it would make me feel really stupid. And every time I smoked, I would always think about it, almost like it was intrusive thoughts. Another thing is that I would never be able to dream when I sleep. The biggest thing for me was concentration. I'm the kind of person that can get distracted easily. If I'm working on something and I hear some noise, some music, or someone tries to talk to me, I get pretty distracted. And dealing with this while sober just made it all that much harder for me when I got high. Once I graduated from high school, this is when I went from smoking every day to smoking becoming a once in a while type of thing. I would have times where I would go long periods without smoking, but I would end up relapsing again. It would be like this. I would go a year without smoking, then I would relapse. Then I would go 11 months again without smoking, then I would just relapse again. This was the time I started to really build my relationship with God. Me getting to know God was what really got me to start stepping away from smoking. I was seeing how doing this was holding me back, and I didn't want that for myself. I wanted to be better. I was getting in my word, spending time with God, and I was seeing things like you have to be sober-minded at all times, and everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. I was reading these verses, and I was starting to see how weed was something that I was dependent on. And if I wanted to grow my relationship with God, I couldn't no longer rely on these things to get through my day or help me get through the things that I was going through. Now I want to talk about the process of quitting. When I went from smoking every day to going cold turkey, it was pretty hard. First thing is sleep. When I would sleep, I would only get a couple hours of sleep a day. I couldn't get any more. Next is my appetite. My appetite was literally non-existent. I would maybe be able to eat one meal a day, but after that, I couldn't eat anymore. And I was like that for a couple weeks. I think the period is 3 weeks. That's the standard amount of time it takes to get over smoking weed. And then the last thing I want to talk about is I was very irritable. I'm not the kind of person that will lash out or crash out over little things, but when I stopped smoking weed, I was very irritable and I would get annoyed and bothered easily. Specifically, this is only about when I smoked regularly. When I was just smoking from time to time, I didn't really have these side effects because I wasn't doing it that much. So now it's been almost 2 years since I've smoked or took anything to get high, and I feel great. I'm a lot more productive, and I don't need to take anything just to enjoy my day or to get through anything that I have to deal with. The biggest thing that helped me stop was the people that I surrounded myself with. So when I would smoke from time to time and go back and forth, This was because I was hanging out with friends and going to parties with people that would always smoke. And you know, it was never peer pressure, but it was just me being around it, and it was just a temptation for me. Do I think that you should or shouldn't smoke? So there's people that say that you should smoke. God put cannabis on this earth and there's nothing wrong with it. And it says nothing in the Bible specifically about this. And then there's the people that will say it's wrong. They'll tell you all those verses that I told you in the beginning, and they'll use that to prove why it's wrong. But at the end of the day, I just want to say, whether you feel like you can or can't, you need to go to God about this. Build your relationship with God. You should be going to God first about everything that you do. And you know, where I'm at now is that if I would go back to smoking, this would be a sin for me, because I know how it's affected me, and I know that it's not doing anything to help me become better. That's all I have for you guys today. So I hope you liked the video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll be back with another one soon.